In the pantheon of ancient Egypt, few deities occupy as vast and intricate a space as Horus. To speak of Horus is to trace a story told over thousands of years, a story of divine kingship, celestial symbolism, brutal conflict, and cosmic restoration. Horus is not a single, simple god. He is many gods woven into one name, a primordial falcon soaring in the heavens, a vulnerable divine child hidden from danger, an avenger locked in eternal contest with Set, and above all, the living embodiment of kingship itself. Today, we journey deep into the mythic corpus of ancient Egypt to unravel Horus's origins, his battles, his symbols, and his lasting role in shaping one of the most enduring religious and political systems in human history. Long before Horus was the son of Osiris and Isis, he was the sky itself. The earliest references to Horus, known then as Heru or Hor, meaning the distant one or he who is above, appear in the pre-dynastic period, before Egypt even became a unified kingdom. Archaeological evidence shows falcon standards on ceremonial artifacts, suggesting an early cult devoted to a celestial raptor deity. The Egyptians envisioned the sky as a vast falcon, its wings stretched across the horizon. The right eye of Horus was the sun, blazing with power and vitality, while the left eye was the moon, waxing and waning in cycles of loss and renewal. This early cosmological symbolism anchored Horus as a bridge between heaven and earth, a divine mediator whose gaze encompassed all creation. As Egyptian society developed, this sky falcon was drawn into dynastic theology. The falcon's sharp sight and commanding flight became metaphors for sovereignty. The ruler was Horus on earth, a living manifestation of divine oversight. Upon death, the king became Osiris, ruler of the underworld, while the throne passed to the next Horus. This cyclical relationship between Horus and Osiris became a foundation of Egyptian kingship. The most widely known mythology of Horus casts him as the son of Osiris and Isis, born in the shadow of tragedy. Set, Osiris's jealous brother, murdered him, dismembering his body and scattering the pieces across Egypt. Isis, the archetype of devotion and magical power, painstakingly gathered the fragments, reassembled her husband, and breathed life back into him long enough to conceive Horus. Yet Horus was not raised in royal splendor. According to many texts, Isis hid him deep within the marshes of the Nile Delta, fearing Set's wrath. Here, the child god grew under divine protection. His early years are filled with miraculous survival. Serpents, scorpions, and predators were warded off by Isis's magic. The infant Horus appears frequently on protective amulets, his small figure holding power over dangerous forces. But Horus's childhood was never just about personal safety. Within him lay the destiny to restore balance, to avenge his father, reclaim rightful kingship, and heal the fracture Set's crime had inflicted upon the cosmos. From his birth, Horus embodied both fragility and divine inevitability. The rivalry between Horus and Set is one of the most elaborate mythic sequences in Egyptian literature. Far from a single decisive duel, it unfolds across decades of narrative time, involving trials of strength, cunning, morality, and divine judgment. In one cycle, Horus and Set meet in direct combat. The battles are brutal, spears clash, harpoons pierce, and at one point, Horus loses his left eye to Set's violence. In other episodes, Set mutilates Horus, while Horus retaliates with deception, even resorting to trickery involving Set's humiliation. Egyptian myth does not simplify this conflict into good versus evil. Both gods display cunning and, at times, morally ambiguous actions. Equally significant are the divine tribunals. Before the Ennead, a council of 9 great gods, both Horus and Set argue their claims. Testimony is given, oaths are sworn, and magical feats are performed to sway judgment. The sun god Ra often acts as arbiter, while Thoth, the god of wisdom, records the proceedings. These courtroom-like narratives reveal something profound. In Egypt, might alone does not define legitimacy. Sovereignty must be validated ritually and cosmically. By the tribunal's verdict, Horus is eventually declared the rightful heir, and Set is subdued, but not annihilated. Instead, Set becomes a necessary force at the edges of order, guarding Ra's solar bark from chaos serpents like Apophis. Egypt's theology preserved both gods as essential. One embodies order, the other chaos, locked in eternal tension. Among the most iconic symbols of ancient Egypt is the Eye of Horus, or Wadjet. According to myth, Set's attack during their conflict shattered Horus's left eye. It was later healed, sometimes by Thoth, sometimes by Isis, and restored to wholeness. But this restoration transcends a simple healing. Egyptian priests interpreted the eye mathematically. Each fragment of the broken eye was equated to fractional measures used in calculations. The recombination of these pieces symbolized not only Horus's recovery, but also the reconstitution of cosmic balance itself. Amulets bearing the eye were worn for protection, health, and insight. Sailors painted it on their ships to ward off danger. Pharaohs invoked it during coronation rites as a sign of divine vision and authority. The eye thus came to represent a paradox. It is both a symbol of vulnerability and strength, of injury and transcendence. Through the eye, the myths of Horus became inseparably linked with Egyptian medicine, mathematics, and kingship. Horus was not a single figure across Egypt. Regional cults preserved multiple forms of the god, sometimes overlapping, sometimes distinct. There was Horus the Elder, a primordial sky deity, sibling of Osiris and Set. There was Horus the Younger, the son of Isis and Osiris, central to the vengeance narrative. At Edfu, Horus was venerated as a warrior falcon who defeated Set's followers in annual festivals. This multiplicity reflects the syncretic genius of Egyptian religion. Local traditions were preserved but integrated into a unified theology. Priests composed hymns, genealogies, and temple inscriptions harmonizing these different Horus forms. Through this process, Horus became an all-encompassing divine archetype: protector, avenger, healer, king, and celestial power. Perhaps Horus's most enduring legacy lies in his role as the divine prototype of kingship. Every living pharaoh was Horus incarnate. Upon the king's death, he became Osiris, joining the ancestors, while the heir assumed Horus's mantle. This sacred succession mirrored the eternal cycle of death and renewal that underpinned Egyptian cosmology. Coronation rituals explicitly reenacted Horus's vindication over Set. By donning the double crown, the pharaoh symbolized the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, the reconciliation of cosmic dualities embodied in Horus's myth. Through this identification, political power became sanctified, transforming the mortal ruler into a cosmic mediator between gods and humanity. Horus's myths were not merely told, they were performed. Temples across Egypt, especially at Edfu, staged elaborate festivals reenacting Horus's battles, judgments, and triumphs. These rituals renewed the divine sanction of kingship and reaffirmed the principle of Ma'at, cosmic order, truth, and balance. By repeating Horus's victories each year, Egyptians ensured that chaos remained subdued and that the king's rule remained divinely justified. Myth was not entertainment. It was a cosmic technology, a sacred script constantly replayed to sustain the world. More than 3,000 years after the first falcon standards were raised, Horus's gaze still watches us from temple walls, golden amulets, and carved stone. He is the distant one, the one who sees, the one who rules, not just over Egypt, but over the eternal rhythms of life, death, and renewal. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Egyptian mythology, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Join us next time as we explore more of the ancient world's secrets and its timeless gods.